What's my hair like? Is it all right? Is it all right? Hello! Yes, I'm going to do a video. It's quite niche. You have to know who 57 Down is. You have to know kind of some of the bassists that I'm into, which are quite obscure. But then again, I suppose you do. If you just like watching some bald knobhead mess around on the bass and almost play everything, almost, then yeah, hopefully you'll like that. So here we go. I started off loving, the reason I play bass is for Steve Harris. I absolutely love Steve Harris, and I don't know how to play many of his things. Mainly, I don't know how to play a lot of other people's stuff because I just got straight into bands. I was just hit the ground running and trying to catch up with the band around me. So I don't know a lot of other people's stuff. So it's mainly fragments and bits of songs that I know and things that I love. I did learn loads when I started. I mean, that's how I essentially learned, was to just sit and play along to things. But not much Iron Maiden. So I'm going to go for, I think it's Remember Tomorrow. I think it's called that. Yeah, here we go. Love that, the way it skips from one to another, like a dreamy, flowy, and then it's it's really quite technical on the fingers. These days I play with a pick more, so my fingers game ain't quite what it should be. But yeah. So from there, I mean, I've always loved Led Zeppelin. I mean, John Paul Jones for me is one of the absolute pillars of bass. He just is. The way he can just move effortlessly, slot himself in, but actually be doing loads. I mean, like and my favourite bass line by him, by Country Miles Ramble On, which I shall attempt to do for you now. Just love it. It's just so, well, when he does it, it's very flowy and beautiful and precise. Although I did see an interview with him on like morning TV or something, I don't know what he was doing, or what I was up at that time for, but anyway, it was, and he was struggling to play it, which makes me feel a lot better. So moving on from there, I guess my first sort of bass influence that took me in somewhere near the direction where I ended up going in was Warrior Soul. And the bass player is Pete McClanahan. He's phenomenal, and most people have never heard of him, I guess, but I remember sitting in my bed seat in Stamford at about 16 years old with nothing but a bass, which I used to plug into a stereo. It sounded heavenly, as you can imagine, and just learnt the entire album. Just couldn't stop. Just kept going, and just pumping away. And I think after doing that, I think I doubled my bass skill overnight. Just time on the bass. There's no substitute for it. There's no hacks or shortcuts. You've just got to put the hours in. So I did. They have like a ballad on the album called Hero. I say a ballad, it still gets quite distorted and heavy and stuff. But I absolutely adore it, and the lyrics are fantastic, as they always are with Warrior Soul. So it goes it's all chordy stuff, and this is what turned me onto chords on the bass. I was so taken with hearing bass chords for the first time, really. I mean, I know Steve Harris does it, but it's not quite as prominent. It's the prominent part of the song. And it just sort of drifted along, and I sat in my bedsit just in a complete reverie, I think the word is. It's absolutely wonderful. And then there was a little known band called Mindfunk, and I absolutely adored these. The guitarist was Jason Everman, who was in Nirvana. He was the guy who was in Nirvana, didn't play but was credited. I think he like paid for the recording or something. And he is incredible, a proper shredder. But the band itself, I think the bass player was called John Monty, which, if I remember rightly from the haze of time, and I may be wrong, but I think he was in something like Celtic Frost or something like that. But the other thing that attracted me to him was he played quite funkily, which I hadn't come across a lot of that. And also, the bass was right up there in the front of the mix with everything else, you know. He also had long black hair, which I had at the time, skinned at the side, which I did at the time, and I thought, yeah, because I mean at that age, that's just as important as anything he plays is what he looks like, and he looked like me, and I thought I looked ace, so I was quite happy about that. What was I going to play? Sugar Ain't So Sweet, that's what it's called. Sugar Ain't So Sweet. And I love that whole album. It was just self-titled, Mindfunk. So good. And there's a song called Big House Burning as well, where he goes pretty crazy in that, but I can't remember how to play that. So now we go on to one of the most iconic bass players in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Jay will disagree. He fucking hates Joy Division, but I love Joy Division. And Peter Hook, the thing I love about him is the dynamics in his playing, and because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing when he started, he had no idea. He just got given a bass and was going for it, from what I can gather. And because he lacked a lot of that kind of thing, he tried to put it in other ways and really absorb the music that was around him. I mean, you've got to think as well that a lot of, not all, but a lot of Joy Division drums are quite just pulsing, could almost be written to a drum machine, you know? So you have to find other ways of making, not rather than just going, rather than do that. So to illustrate that, first is transmission. I think there's like 4 notes in the whole song on the bass. But what he does with those, I think, is absolutely genius. Every time I look back and go back to bass players of when I started, a lot of them you're like, nah, they're okay, I suppose, but with time and stuff, they're not all that. Him, I still feel as excited to listen to today as I did when I first heard him. The only reason I got into Joy Division is because on Drugs God on the New Republic by Warrior Soul, they covered Interzone, which is a Joy Division song, and they stated that they loved Joy Division, and I was like, I've got to listen to these. First time I heard it, I was like, okay, sounds like shit Elvis, and I can't really get over this, not sure. And then I heard the bass, picked it out and heard it, and I was like, this is incredible. And so to illustrate the dynamics of his playing, the transmission is literally like 2 notes with a little bit. And it starts off quite staccato. It goes from staccato, which is halting, and then he lets it go when the guitars go, and he pulls it back, and he almost damps it, and then he smashes it, and he just lets the stuff ring. It's really, really clever, and I hope I can do it justice. So you get the idea. There's loud, soft, there's spank in it, there's damp in it. It's all in there, just two notes essentially. And I absolutely love that. The other thing that he gave me, as it were, is the use of pedal tones, pedal notes. And this is slightly out of, the intonation slightly out on this bass, which is quite authentic, I think. I don't think one of his basses was intonated. So yeah, I absolutely love this. It's She's Lost Control, if I can remember how to play it. If I start on the right note. Just love that. It's quite simple, even though I struggle to hit every note correctly. But yeah, it's quite simple, but it's so effective, especially in the song. Do yourself a favour, and I reckon you should get, if you're going to try Joy Division, it's got to be the album Substance. It's got some of the old stuff, some new stuff and whatever, and the production is fantastic as well. Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. I can't sing Hookie's praises enough. So I stayed with Joy Division and Pete Hook for a long time. They were like my mainstay. There's a lot of material to dig into and stuff. And then a lad I knew locally was in a band, and he wanted me to teach him some bass lines. I mean, I was quite handy by then, and I'd be about 17, I think, 18. And he's like, he teaches this bass line. I was like, yeah, sure. And normally I'll just listen to stuff and pick it up. It's usually like, yeah, I've listened and yeah, I kind of got that. This was something else. This was just unbelievable bass, but it was also in a pop punk sort of band. It wasn't like, you know, Billy Sheehan or someone like that. This was, you know, they were in the charts. They were on top of the pops, and they had this incredible bass. So I instantly fell in love. It was just so different. So this is Easy to Smile. They played it on top of the pops and everything. And Morgan Nichols is just phenomenal. This is Senseless Things, Easy to Smile, and it's relentless, and I'll probably get it wrong. That is a workout and a half.
Father, forgive me for these gains I'm about to receive. Reps for Jesus.
So yeah, some lad turned up and going, "Can you play this?" The answer was, "Oh, no, not yet." So I had to take it away and do it. He did me a tape. Remember those? Pencils for rewind. So yeah, they had some incredible songs on there. Another one, I'll just play a bit of this, I don't know it all. So anyway, there was that, and the pièce de la résistance was a bass solo in a song called "It's Cool to Hang Out with Your Ex," and this game, in fact, this took me years to figure out what they were doing, and I was so proud of it that I've held on to it all these years, and actually robbed a section of it for the solo in "It Feels Good to Let Go," and our songs. So. You'd think I'd be rehearsed at it, wouldn't you? Let me tell you. Almost had that right. So yeah, I love that so much. And when it comes in, obviously, because he plays it smoother and better and groovier and flows a lot more, and is actually playing the bass the right way up. Yeah, I just fell in love with that immediately and fell in love with Morgan forever and ever. But through those, I mean, I'd always loved The Who, but they'd never really been a big part of my life, as it were. Like some songs, I used to have compilations with the odd thing on it. But he mentioned Entwistle in an interview or something somewhere, or somebody did. And I started thinking, that bass is incredible. And then I saw some old recordings of, I think it was Live at Leeds or something. And I was just absolutely smitten with his sound. Which I think is where Morgan got a lot of his ideas. And it was bi-amping, so you get a clean bass sound, you get a dirty guitar amp sound. And you push them together, and that changed my idea of bass sounds as well. Because before that it was bum 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 bum, with Steve Harris, clangety clangety clang, but now this was juicy. And with distortion on bass comes a whole host of issues, like trying to keep clean, because you can when it's clean you can have the odd ring out, but once that's got dirt on it becomes a lot more prominent. So it shows up all the inadequacies in I can't reach my pedal. There we go. It shows up all the inadequacies in your playing totally. A lot of people think distortion hides things. I mean, it might on guitar, I don't know, but on bass it doesn't. Everything you do, there's a squeak, a pop, a ring. So then I had to completely learn a different way of playing bass. And I thought, if I'm putting all this effort in, I really want to do it. So, I mean, for instance, with a Entwistle, something like. So massive ring in, but you'll notice as well, lots of things that I'd never really done before was put vibrato on bass, and it actually brings out, you can maybe hear it brings out like harmonics and things. Those things are happening. Love it. And then of course you start putting chords in. Got my pick. See how organised I am. Everything's right at hand. And of course things like that lead to 57 Down. The idea for 57 Down as well was Ned's Atomic Dustbin. who had 2 bass players. Never learned any of their stuff, but I also thought that's a really good idea, having 2 basses. And they had a guitarist as well. So after that, I got into 57 down and started just not really listening to much anymore bass players, really, because I think we, just by necessity of the medium, we just had to find our own way with things. So I mean, we have crazy solos and things like that, and ridiculous sounds, massive pedal boards, anything to fit it up. And I guess a lot of that comes from like Peter Hook, where you try and get what you can out of what you've got in front of you. So yeah, sort of things that are outside of what I normally listen to and stuff. There's a bit of a bass nerd, as it were. You've got Victor Wooten. I'm not Victor Wooten. I would love to be Victor Wooten, but every time I try and do something like that, I end up sounding like Billy Sheehan, which is just not a bad thing, I suppose, but it's not quite what I'm going for. But this, I saw, I think it's a video on YouTube, Victor Wooten Bass Day, and he does this, and it blew me away. I mean, things like, I didn't realise that you could hit a pinch harmonic and slide your hand, and it will go with it. So, not like that. There you go. You can move it. Mental, never knew. All these little things that I pick up. So I'm going to try and do an approximation. This is not note for note, but it illustrates things that interest me a lot. When people do things with a bass that I've never heard before, never seen before, never seen anyone else doing. Outside my normal sphere of music that I'd normally listen to, I don't like jazz. I've tried so hard, I just don't like it. But this funky, jazzy type stuff that he does really excites me, so I'm going to have a go. Please bear with, I am not Victor Wooten. So yeah, after arming myself with Morgan Nichols and all the Joy Division stuff with Peter Hook, I got in a band with Jay. Jay was the guitarist. I was a bass player, and I wrote a song called Exit Wound. And it was based, me and Jay used to live together, used to share a house. And he was upstairs and I could hear him swearing, his guitar going and swearing, and again, the guitar's coming out and he went, "Oi, Matt!" And I went, "What? Come up here and have a go at this." So I went up and it was a Paul Gilbert video. And he's swearing at it, and there's this one exercise which seems simple enough. We just and then you link it together. So anyway, I got hold of his guitar and I'm fucking oh, hang on, let me get my bass. So I came this bass actually. I've had this for years, I love it. When I got my bass and was like, and did it. And out of that, it was I was looking for a bass line for the song that I'd written, and I just ended up doing that, which is I'll play it from the start.
if I can remember it. Again, a long time ago. So you can see quite a few of the influences I've been talking about. You can see quite a few of them in there. You've got the pedal notes, the hooky type things, and what made that great was having a drummer that came along with me. I mean, Joe Jeffries, fantastic drummer. He just seemed to get me from day one. Whereas a lot of time, if you've got someone just going behind you and you're doing all this shit, it's like, oh, what the f is he doing? But with a drummer, he's actually, you know, when I'm, because that's like 6/4 or something, so that bit at the top here, so it goes out by like half a bar or something every time you play it, and then it comes together at the end, and he would play to that while Jay was singing and playing guitar in 4, and he was kind of splitting between the two of us, supporting everything. Really essential. So there was that one. There was Disguise, I think Jay did in his video, which I always love the driving nature of the bass line. And again, with this, you can hear quite a lot of Pete Hook, I think, in it. At least it feels that way when I play it. I'll play it right in a minute. So yeah, again, quite busy and stuff, but the drums and everything, it grooves real nice. And yeah, so that was that. But I mean, another influence that kind of ties in with the Paul Gilbert thing, because Jay was a massive influence on my playing as well, because we lived together and constantly introducing each other to music, which I loved the stuff he played me and he couldn't stand the stuff I played him.
Dude, have you heard this new band called Sky Break the Kingdom of Fortress Xenogenesis? No, Xenogenesis with an XH. It's a silent H. Oh, you have heard of them. I mean, they're pretty okay.
It's that kind of uneven balance. Like, yeah, whatever, Matt. But listen, have you heard this? So obviously he's a massive Vi and Paul Gilbert fan, and Billy Sheehan came up, and then it was just, he'd be like the Attitude song, he'd be learning the Attitude song, and I'd fucking up about that, try it.
and try and do all that ridiculously hard. Picked up a few things as you just would from, I wonder if I can do that type thing, you know, I wonder if I can do this. One of them is the Billy Sheehan thing, which is, and I love that because it has like a rhythm of its own that doesn't go with what I'm playing. There's like something about hammering the string on it. It's like wow, 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 that I'm not playing. It feels like I'm not playing, which I think is great. And all the sort of stuff. Nonsense, wanky stuff. And so that became helpful later on. In 57 Down, when I have to do solos, to actually have those sort of legato things going on. Nonsense. It's like it's just like icing on a cake, really. And the problem is with that stuff, it's a lot of fun, and you've got to kind of rein it in because it's so much fun to just sit there and lose myself and I go, I don't think I'm really adding anything to this song, am I? And kind of dial it back, or at least pare it down to something that could be kind of memorable. But when you need it, it's there, and you don't need it very often. But when you do, it's there. And also, I think pushing yourself to your limits regularly, your overall level comes up. You know, if you're always playing on the ragged edge, it's something problem I've always had is I've written bass lines in my head before I've actually touched the bass. I can hear the melody of one on here, and away, I'm like, oh fuck, what is that? I'll have to learn it and teach myself my own bass lines, and then learn to play them. One of them was like a finger exercise, because I was blindsiding using these three fingers. Everyone kind of go, and that's relatively easy because they're all disconnected from each other. But you'll notice when I do that, this finger moves, and to disconnect these two is rock hard. I mean, I've heard stories of people having surgery to separate the ulnar nerve so they can have independence. But I made a finger exercise. I thought, I'm not very good at that. I'm just going to do something. It doesn't sound particularly good, but I'm just going to do it over and over and over and over and over, and then hopefully I'll get strength in these fingers. So as a did that over and over. Lots and lots and lots of it until I could do it. And then again, looking for a bass line, that just popped in my head, and I did it. What's that song called?
Fucking lunatic.
Can't remember what it's called.
Lunatic SpongeBob.
It's a really nice song. You have to What's it called? I've remembered it's called Lunatic. So the other thing as well, again, to hear the Peter Hook side of things, I just love the pedal tones and things like that. And I was sat there one day, I may have been listening to Joy Division, I may not, I can't remember, a long time ago. But I came up with this. It's called Stolen. Just so I remember, it's called Stolen. And the chorus goes and so on. So that was just an exercise in making open notes play and gritty and stuff, and a beautiful vocal melody on it, and a really good guitar solo. So I guess where everything was headed was 57 down. We had a 4-strings when we started. Quite soon I was running out of neck and being upside down. I can't quite get the access, so it made sense to then have a 6-string. So with the sound and everything that is not exactly, but quite close to like Morgan and Entwistle, and even like the guy from Muse, what's his name? Can't remember. Do a similar thing. That sort of thing, which is a belting bass line, but he has a belting sound as well. I mean, he's just and the other thing as well with Morgan is he actually plays like second bass and keyboards in Muse. I don't know if he still does, but he did definitely. And when the bass player broke his arm, Morgan did the Australian leg of the tour for him. He played bass, so there's another connection. He also played bass for Lily Allen. The Streets. I'm trying to think who else. He's done The Who at the 2012 Olympics. The guy on stage playing bass for The Who is Morgan Nichols. So it gets everywhere. And he was also Vent 414. A bit of that. He was in a band with Miles Hunt from the Wonder Stuff for a while. Called Fixer, very good. But yeah, so all this stuff led to 57 down. So if I play, I'll play the solo that I stole, the Senseless Things riff from before. That's how it should have gone. Yeah, and that's where you can see where the influences creep in with it. I mean, other stuff like the chugging and that is. I always like that thing that Scott Ian had. Almost where it goes sharp when you chug. Love it. So as you can see, the bass playing kind of evolved into something else. Still have songs where the fingers and go. What's it called? Stockholm. That kind of thing. And there's like Sisters of the Valley, where I do like a more traditional bass sort of thing. And there's a solo in that. I don't know if I'm going to go for it because it's been locked down and stuff, and that's the sort of thing you have to work up to. I'll give it a go. So the eagle-eyed of you will notice I'm stood up and I've taken my jacket off because this is, hand on heart, the hardest thing I've ever had to play on a bass guitar, ever. Quite why I wrote it like that. I wrote it in pieces and then played it, and now I'm stuck with it. So, because I can't hear anything else in my head. If I play something else, it just wouldn't feel right. So, I'm stuck with it. I guess I'll just have to get better. But until then, please enjoy me fumbling through this and the agony on my face. So, here we go. Fuzzy in the middle, but you get the idea, you get the flavour of it, and yeah, it hurts a lot. Well, hopefully you found that mildly amusing in some way, or informative, or not too terribly boring. As I hope comes through in that is that I absolutely adore the bass, I adore bass playing, and hopefully that'll give some insight as to what makes me tick and why, because a lot of the time I get told that I'm a frustrated guitarist, and that's so far from the truth. I'm more like a bassist that's been pushed into or felt driven to just take it somewhere else. But, you know, that's the way it is. Well, let me know in the comments if you found any of that useful, interesting, any questions. Abuse, I love abuse, I like it. So as long as you don't mind if I masturbate while I read it, then put what you like. Like and subscribe and all that.